Glad to see you've decided to join us, Sunborne. Sorry, sir. Fell asleep after training, she mumbled, taking up her pencil and opening her notebook, flipping through the pages of notes taken in her neat looping hand. Today we'll be starting with an overview of the times of strife before we move on to the formation of the Confederacy itself. Now, the story of the Immortal is known far and wide. And so the Immortal struck the final blow in the cataclysmic confrontation between the ageless warrior and the mad sorceress. Her eyes darkened as life left her body and the times of strife began. The combat and ensuing death of the matriarch sent shockwaves through the very fabric of reality itself. Many were sure the end of all things and final return to the void had come unlooked for. What records of this time that survive tell of great violence and upheaval as the sorceress's empire shattered and all aspects of civilization from faster-than-light travel to basic law and order were disrupted as worlds fell into chaos across the universe and we were cut off from the rest of the vast empire of varied peoples the matriarch had brought to heal. The Immortal did all he could, where he could, but this is not his story. Suffice to say that without him, one and all in our small corner of the universe shudder to think of the possible outcomes. And so for millennia the worlds were separated from one another, forced to survive or perish on their own merits and resources barring where the ancient hero could reach. Many did not persist to the common day, or even to the resumption of travel between planetary systems, limited as it was, that gave rise to many small empires and collectives as the different races once again began to look to the stars, lifted by near-forgotten stories of far-flung empires spanning the breadth of creation. Studying and eventually harnessing what technology remained, they crawled from world to world and system to system, encountering nothing but wreck and ruination devoid of all but the savage remnants of society scratching out brief violent lives amongst the blasted and crumbling cities being steadily reclaimed by nature, fit only for salvage opportunities. While most was ruin, the sheer number of habitable worlds gave the scattered peoples heart, though the massive ringed constructions more often than not hovering in orbit within the outer reaches of once heavily populated systems gave the travelers pause, and not a little anxiety. Settling within their secured systems and consolidating their own small pieces of the galaxy, they went about the business of rediscovering the guiding lights of knowledge and civilization. All thought the times of strife over and accepted their new quiet role in the universe, living, loving, and warring as ever before and since, having returned to their former small stature without the unifying forces of the deceased matriarch or absent Immortal. Then came the first children, the ignition of the gates, and the first infestation of the galaxy by the Shodan from the impassable dark space between galaxies. Their names are no longer recorded, the powers they wielded too great and terrible to even risk summoning them from whatever dark corner of existence the remaining first have spread to in the eons since their battles against one another before the unification and repelling of the Shodan. They came with the first reopening of the gates leading to the ways between, a little understood web of interdimensional space composed of pure magical energy that seemingly spanned the breadth of the galaxy, if not further, accessible only via beacons once thought merely decorative objects. As with the 12 Endurant that followed ages after, the first children numbered 12, 6 of the Immortal and 6 of the Matriarch, instinctively drawn towards one another through space and time as they came blazing into the abyss from the now active gates, borne on the power to bring the galaxy to a new golden age or reduce it to its foundations. Displaying deep wariness or outright enmity even towards those of their own ilk, the first children once more brought cataclysm to our galaxy, the apex firmament in the great wars waged against one another across centuries, more often than not inadvertently, or intentionally, involving the budding societies in their shadow. Their number reduced over time, the first continued to fight their endless campaigns when from the abyss came horror on insectile legs. The Shodan had arrived, or perhaps returned, as later discoveries have led many to believe the quick-breeding malignant mutated collective, originally considered nothing more than an invading devastating plague of galactic scale, were only the most recent of ancient civilizations originating within the firmament in the times before even the matriarch was a dark dream lost somewhere in the far future. Some speculate she may have even had a hand in their blackening.